Okay, hello everyone. This is Brock Beard from lastcar.info. We are in a different room today, but it's a very special weekend, so a good time to do that. Thank you all for bearing with me. We did things a little bit differently with the race there. I was covering the watching the Cup race in the background during the IndyCar thing, and then my brother was watching the rest of it. So he's watching on tape delay at the other location, and we're doing it here. I didn't want to push the show much later than this already. There's quite a bit already to cover from the action here. I have my cat here just off screen here, so he may be making an appearance if he wanders into the shot, but we'll bear with me here as we get through. First and foremost, definitely lots to talk about as the big two in the Cup Series continue to be the big story through this week. Kevin Harvick winning the race today and Denny Hamlin winning the event on Saturday. Continuing to be the big story. Now that we have the last cutoff for Daytona coming up next week, and we wait to see what's going to be the situation for Rick Ware Racing and the possibility of them having the actual first ever sweep of both the Indianapolis 500 and a Cup Series race on the same day, not just including the Coca-Cola 600, because the 600 actually goes back to 1960, and there were even races that were run before that on the same day as the Indy 500. And there were other times where the 600 wasn't run on the same day as the Indy. Difficult statistic there. But from the first pass that I looked through on the statistics there, I didn't see a single instance where a particular team had finished last in both the NASCAR race and the Indy 500 on the same day. And oh, there's the cat. Hello, Kitty. Hey, come on, buddy. I think this way we might have a co-host here for the show tonight, but this is fine. He usually likes sitting on the lap, but this will be here. This is Trick, by the way. And will this be a regular appearance on the regular shows? Who knows? But we'll try to multitask. This has been a weekend of multitasking, of course. The beginning of the Cup Series race today coincided with the first part of the Indy 500. And being able to juggle all that earlier today was a bit of a challenge. But the Rick Ware story is definitely part of what's going to make this certainly challenging. Beast of Metal, thank you for the super chat right off the bat. Oh my goodness, Kitty, come on. This cat requires a great deal of attention. I've been upstairs during this whole thing, and we're definitely making up ground for that today. Okay, Kitty, do you want to not claw so hard on my Connor Daly shirt here from the last place finish he had in 2015, I believe it was, where he had engine failure on the pace laps? There you go. Uh-oh. Hang on. There he goes. Okay, he may be popping back up here from time to time, but we will work around that. 5 races this weekend on the NASCAR circuit, as well as the Indy 500, certainly has its own challenge. And where to even start with that? Dover, in general, is not exactly the best venue, I think, to have 5 races in any short stint of time. I've never been there myself. But I would certainly hope that it would be something else that would be interesting to see in person, maybe one of these days. But, you know, a bit of a sliding scale of events that we saw from the different ones here. But certainly, again, the Rick Ware portion of it is one that I think is going to be interesting. Hopefully we'll have official word there on the actual post-race inspection for Kevin Harvick's win today. Jimmy Johnson continuing to have a bit of a resurgence here. We'll see if it's going to be enough to get him over the hump and hold Byron for a transfer spot into the playoffs and what they can do from there. For what it's worth, it appears that the white paint scheme is actually helping out quite a bit there on the number 48 team. Had a good run over at the first couple of races he's had and so forth coming into this. But at the same time, you know, it was definitely a story of comers and goers in that sense. We didn't have as many different teams actually competing for the win. Denny Hamlin competing against Martin Truex at the end of the Saturday race, but then on the Sunday race, it's pretty much the all Harvick show on that sense. The Xfinity Series, a little bit more difference in the back of the field, whether it was Timmy Hill exiting early in the Saturday race after it seemed like Matt Mills was having himself an extremely frustrating situation. I was very curious about the radio transmissions during. Had apparently vice grips that were car that were rattling around. Driving with distractions, you could perhaps say. And there was also something that was dangling down from the roof of his car that was touching the steering wheel. I've been trying to find some more information on what exactly that was. I know we talked a little while ago, I think it was at Talladega, where an antenna had fallen down and it dangled kind of in view. And I think Justin Haley had that in the Xfinity race as well. But there's always a challenge from one sense to the other about what they could do with that. But if it was touching the steering wheel, that's dangling awfully low. The antenna is only so long. If it's falling down that low, it's probably not even hooked up to anything. But plus the fact that they're actually having clear radio communications during the race, I think they had a pretty good indication of what actually was happening with the team. But lots of struggles at the back there. Seemed like Matt Mills is going to end up being your last place finisher of the Saturday Xfinity race. Came back out there after an extended stay behind the wall and came back out and dropped the old Timmy Hill's car behind the wall. Timmy Hill, though, is an interesting story, given the fact that he'd been able to compete in all 5 of the NASCAR races this weekend in Dover. Regardless of how competitive those events were, I think that was a great showing for him and what that number 66 team can do. Not just his team, but also Hill's own effort in the Truck Series and everything. But it's going to be interesting on that end to see how many more races Timmy can work on in the future, and may not have the best results in each one of them, but still competing in all of them for any period of time is something also worth mentioning. Thank you again so much, Beast of Metal, for your super chat again on here, aka my reaction to Chase nearly headlining the site again. It's like the Calgary Flames reminding everyone they started in Atlanta by falling from a 3-0 lead to a 7-3 loss in an elimination game. Chase Elliott certainly, after the issues he had in the fall race last year, where he and I believe it was Reed Sorensen both had mechanical failures at the very start of the race and then ended up dropping further back in the lineup. It was unfortunate to have that kind of situation there for Chase, but it's also unfortunate that you can't just rear-end a car anymore and expect to be able to continue on as best as you can. Just rear-ending Kyle Busch's car, which didn't, from any replay, seem to be on what all happened with the number 9 team and everything else from there. But that's going to be something that we're going to definitely have to look ahead to Chase Elliott last year. I mean, of course, remember back then, last year he was actually competing for the NASCAR championship after he got bumped championship 4, and so you had that basic same situation there. So Vinnie Miller, and I'm trying to do this more from memory on that. Vinnie Miller on that side, and Timmy Hill from both Xfinity races. Cup Series side, Joey Gase being last today, pending inspection results whenever that comes in. And then, my goodness, the Cup Series race before that was Kurt Busch, which was an unusual last place run. Didn't actually, with the metric that's used to set the lineups, you always have Kurt Busch in a different position. He ended up starting, I think, about 28th in the race today, and had a much better showing than he had the other day. So hopefully that's something they can work on for the future. But Kurt's first last place finish since Las Vegas last year, and that was kind of the story on that end. A lot of what happened actually in the races themselves kind of blurs together. So if you have any questions on anything else that we covered up from that, definitely make sure you mention it in the comments, and we'll certainly cover that. I know, of course, the Indy 500, of course, was today. Although the Indy 500 isn't so much my bailiwick, I was certainly watching it live, and under these very extreme circumstances. Not just what eventually pushed the race to August, but running the race in August when they had issues with air circulation in the cars. Definitely seemed to be an endurance match more than anything. And congratulations again to Takuma Sato for scoring his second Indy 500. Very well deserved, I think. I think he put on a great show with Scott Dixon. It's unfortunate the race ended under caution. Seemed like Dixon was at least closing in on him as they were getting through lap traffic. It would have been interesting to see if that shook out. I think it potentially could have been a close finish since Dixon had by far the best car in the entire race, and the cat thinks so as well. But everything else is Beast of Metal. Thanks again for the other super chat here. The RTA pyramid scheme. I gotta agree with. I don't think it's been good for the sport. I think that's certainly been the case. Wouldn't you say so, Keith? But the problems with all of that are certainly made known from what's happened in the Cup Series and so forth. But on the IndyCar side, of course, outside there, And you know, at that point, heck, what are you going to do? He's our cat, but he's extremely well mannered and very you know, well, likes attention as much as any other cat. But that's, gosh, that's got to be at least a good 6, 7 years probably at this point. Hopefully, this is about as big as he's going to get. He's definitely a handful, 2 handfuls to carry. But this is basically his room, so that's where he gets. I think that's where he's a little comfortable with me in here. But like I say, I'm always open to a co-host on this, and I can't get OBS to work, so I think we'll have something that's going to work on this end here in the meantime. I see another question here. What and when is my next documentary? Still working on that. Actually, I have some research I've been able to work on recently. I don't know if this one's going to be another collaboration like the thing with Slap Shoes. I'd love to if the opportunity presents itself, but I know he has a very busy schedule, and as it happens, mine's a bit challenging as well, as I'm starting a new job this past week. But I think it's going to be very much. I kind of like doing this collision course aspect with the documentary, so it's going to be something more along those lines. I don't want to give away too much on it because I'm still at the phase of just kind of collecting the research and seeing if it's going to make an interesting story. If it is, I'll certainly let you guys know. Actually, the members of my Patreon will get the first notice of that, and we'll have that going. Hopefully, something that's going to be produced here in the next month or two, and we'll have that, of course, on this channel. Also doing some more stuff with NASCAR Man as well. I know that we had the script on the LR series that we did. I think there was another one I did, if memory serves, that we're working on, and that he's working on rather for his next video. And we'll have that up there. Again, advanced access to all the videos that both I make, as well as NASCAR Man's videos where I'm narrating it, are available in the Patreon as well, to any level, $1 and up on that. Thanks again to everybody on the Patreon and everything else on that. I see Michael Harvey, your comment. Any info on the next book? Still working on that as well. I know I got a lot of plates spinning in the air, but that's just kind of the nature of it right now at the moment. You know, we're getting pretty close to getting this next one done. I think I had another interview for it just recently that I think kind of filled in a lot of gaps that I wanted to get in on there. And there's still a couple other people I'd like to speak to before it actually is ready for prime time. But in the meantime, we're still kind of working on more the business side of it there and getting that all straightened out. I want to make sure that we get actually some kind of a point here where it's actually all set up and we can bring it back and give you guys an update on a release date once it's actually. But it's gonna be really interesting to you know, see what we can get done on that, and I'm very excited to bring that to you when it is available. Goodness, let's see. Let me go over this. I'm trying to do this from memory, but that is certainly a challenge on this. I appreciate you guys all for bearing with me here as we get through this. Let me just kind of backwards through the other results here. Kevin Harvick, of course, winning the race that just wrapped up today. Joey Gase had that incident with Garrett Smithley at the start of the event. An unfortunate deal for both of those teams there at the start. I know Gase's team was pretty shot down about that. And of course, I mean, I'm sure they were very much aware of the situation happened with James Davison earlier in the day. I know that people have mixed feelings, that they're really trying to do the very best they can with the limited resources they have. And really, given the steps that they've made in the last like 6 or 7 years, I think it's still pretty impressive. They're still at this point where they're actually merging with Premium Motorsports on the Cup Series side. They're actually expanding into IndyCar. They've been running sports cars overseas that Cody Ware is still competing in. There's a lot of different directions they're going. And actually, when I spoke with Rick a few years ago, I think one thing that was really interesting about it is that team has been around a lot longer than even I had really known about. I mean, Rick himself used to actually do races at Rivers cars many years ago, and that's really kind of where their experience comes from. Again, more the road course side than the ovals and super speedways. So that's been a bit of an adjustment. But certainly today was a difficult day, but that's racing for you. You can have a story that's really compelling, like a team that's in NASCAR that's trying to branch out into the sport. And, you know, we'd seen this with Fernando Alonso, again, not just competing today, but a couple of years ago. I think people are really eager to see, you know, interdisciplinary efforts in racing, whether it's like Kurt Busch running in the Indy 500, or in this case, Rick Ware fielding a car in the Indy 500. I think that that's something that hopefully we see more of and maybe get some more exposure for the different series. And I think that would be definitely something worth. Well, hopefully you haven't seen the last of them on that. Kitty, hey there, buddy. Hey there. Okay, now you seem a little more mellow. That's good. There you go. So we got to talk about Brett Moffitt. This brings me to the next point on that. Great run by Brett Moffitt and the Chris Howard team. I didn't realize until actually writing it that Moffitt's team. There you go. Okay, you want to all right, move over there? That's fine. That's fine. That the 0-2 team actually hadn't led any laps yet since the beginning of this year. It seems like they'd at least led something during a caution flag at some point. But a decent run for them. I also like the throwback scheme to Jimmy Johnson's car, getting a head start a little bit on throwback weekend. I know a few paint schemes have been revealed here in these last few days. Also, incidentally, like Quinn Haupt's Harry Gant throwback that they ran over at Dover here this weekend, may not have had the best performance out there with a spin there late in today's race, but some interesting looks at the exact same time. Let's see here. Stenhouse, he had an unfortunate deal there. After he had the great run on Saturday, it's too bad to see him get scooped there very early on by Joey Logano. This seems to be the typical case in these dual races, that you have a team that does really well, and then they end up doing really bad in the next one. John Hunter Nemechek during the Darlington double immediately comes to mind in that sense. But it's kind of a double-edged sword in that sense. Let me look at the Saturday results. We'll do some trivia here along the way. We'll see if the cat gets some correct answers too, if we can figure that all out. Yeah, Kurt Busch in that one. Reed Sorensen with a spectacular oil leak on the car. Apparently, a Wiggins clamp came loose, sent him behind the wall. I'm surprised that wasn't more of an issue than it was. Logano slid up the track. Apparently, according to Sorensen's radio, a lot of other teams were struggling with handling through those corners. But luckily, it didn't turn out to be a more serious Watkins Glen 2012-like situation. And Sorensen ended up in the next to last spot. BJ McLeod, I saw somebody mentioning this earlier. Indeed, a great recovery for BJ after finishing in the bottom 5 in the Saturday race, getting, I believe, 31st in the Sunday race. Great recovery. And he was racing right from the start. He was already passing Smithley and challenging Timmy Hill at the beginning. And given the fact that we haven't seen the 78 run in a few weeks since, I believe, Texas, again, try to develop his Cup Series effort, in conjunction, again, with, I mean, again, there seems to be 3 or 4 degrees of separation to bring it back to Rick's effort. But I think that's always an interesting way to see that. But hopefully things will continue to improve there. I don't know if he's going to run Daytona next week. I think did he run Talladega? I'm trying to remember offhand. It would certainly be, well, I mean, you'd hate to see if he tore up any cars or anything, but let's see. Oh no, it's 2017's results. Let me see what we got here. Oh yeah, he did do Talladega. Yeah. Wait, no, hang on. Yeah, okay. He did Talladega, but he drove for, that's right. He was driving in place of James Davison. He was driving for Spire, so he wasn't fielding his own car in it. So we'll see if he gets a similar arrangement to that, and that'll be another story to follow on top of the point system and everything else happening on that end. Let's see. Ford led all but 3 laps today. That's so surprising, because you have, again, the situation where you have all these Toyota teams up there, and it seemed like they're just unstoppable. And then the next day, where are they? And you just got the Fords up there, and they're just doing the very best that they can in that sense. That would be a crazy one. Vista Metal, I was just looking at one of your older super chats. I'm not sure if, in spite of the fact in that one he was able to run his first road course race since 2004 as a rookie. I thought that was an interesting story there. Uh-oh, we have a buffering wheel. Oh no. This as best as possible. Can you still hear the audio here? I got full bars on this end. Let me plug the computer in and see if that helps anything. I will get the cat on it if that's not working either. Okay. Might want to hit the old refresh button there if it's not loading. Oh, refresh and it worked? Okay. So trying to talk to, okay. Let's see. Any luck on that? Okay. Sounds like I see a couple comments here. Maybe we're doing a little better. Like I say, we're experimenting a little bit here with the show, but I appreciate you guys bearing with me as we do some more on this. Again, if you have any other questions about any of the action this weekend, the 5 races at Dover plus the race at Indianapolis just earlier today, was certainly open to that as well. Let me get Tommy Joe Martins, I believe, had a good run. That was good to see. The 44 team needs a little bit of luck. Speaking of which, Justin Allgaier taking one of those Xfinity wins. Seemed like it was only a matter of time until Briscoe or Cindric just added to their win total. The JR Motorsports teams finding themselves being basically really having to face those two Fords on a weekly basis has become the new battle rather than a big three or big four or whatever we've had in the past with people like Christopher Bell or Tyler Reddick or whatnot. But that was interesting to see. Let me see the Xfinity results. Indeed, Briscoe bouncing back from the wreck that he had in the Saturday race to win that one. Ross Chastain in second. Daniel Hemrick, kudos to him. That poor guy, ever since he lost his cup ride after winning Rookie of the Year over Ryan Preece last year, seems really struggling to try to get the very most he can get out of these runs. Ends up finishing in the 5th spot, the Poppy Bank car. Brett Moffitt mentioned him earlier in the 10th spot there after drawing the pole after the inversion. Looking further back there, bad deal there for Mike Harmon's team, especially in the second race. Both their cars falling out and before about the halfway point of the race. Actually, Curry a little bit after it. But both those teams falling out in the early laps of the event as they still continue to search for the Duali and the trailer and the number 47 that Weatherman ran at the Daytona Road Course. I understand the reward is up for $20,000, which is quite a big number out there. That hopefully that's able to be raised in an effort to find that car and that equipment. I understood from Harmon's latest interview that the trick with them is they always put the best equipment they can on whatever car they have. So if the car is not there, they just don't have that. And it's not the same situation that we see with a lot of these big teams out there where maybe they have 4 or 5 of just about everything. And a team like Harmon's, certainly a big bit of restriction there for them. And hopefully that gets settled out for them. I know the team's been expressing a lot of information on the tweets. And I try to retweet those when I can because, again, trying to, discuss these small teams whenever is possible. And if nothing else, kind of spread the word on efforts like that. So we certainly hope that things turn out better for them on that. Corbin Forrester making his first Xfinity races in several years, finishing at the very edge of the bottom 5 on the Xfinity race there. So unfortunately, Stephen Light still had struggles in the 61 car and finished towards the back of the field there. It seems like whenever he gets in the 61, especially on the road courses, he's at least a shoe-in for being at or around the 20th spot, which is great, given that most of the time he's usually in the start and park effort for the number 66. You think back to Darlington when the car was pretty much undrivable coming out of the pandemic break and having problems in that sense. So that was a good thing to see him be able to turn things around. Let me look at the Xfinity race here as well from the first one. That one, again, has one of the Harmon cars very close to the bottom 5. Bailey Curry next to last there, in fact, in front of Timmy Hill with fuel pressure issues. McLeod had a difficult day there, ended up pulling behind the wall with suspension problems. Matt Mills and, again, Corbin Forrester in that one in the bottom 5. I think that was one where Cody Vanderwall drug the jack out of pit road, and NBC had an unusually good bit of camera work showing the jack under the car as he pulled off pit road. It's not often you see the small teams come off pit road on those pit road cams. Generally, they're just going to see the battle for the lead, and that's it. So I thought that was kind of neat for a change of pace there. But Justin Allgaier pulling off the victory and holding off Austin Cindric in that one. And then going back even further, again, very challenging weekend. I'm not going to lie. Putting these articles up and stuff has been difficult, but hopefully you shouldn't have to wait too long for the articles tonight on both the Cup race and Xfinity races. We pretty much had those finished, luckily during the Indy 500 and everything made it pretty easy to do that. But we'll have those up online for you tonight. So you'll have all 5 of the races this weekend. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to them having just 3 races on a weekend again. I think that's going to make it much better, and hopefully it will improve the quality of the articles going forward as we look towards the last car championships in all 3 of the series. But now on the Truck Series side, just very last place finisher in that one. A bit of an exchange among other teams there. Tate Fogelman having issues early on, but Benning getting now the 16th last place finish of his Truck Series career, taking the lead in the last car Truck Series championship and extending his record for the most Truck Series last place finishes there for him. So an unfortunate deal. Looking at his results, it seems like most of the time he's actually had some races where he's actually been able to finish them under power, including the Daytona Road Course, which, given how demanding that track was on equipment, very pleasantly surprised that he had a nice sturdy truck under him to make sure that he could actually get to the finish, even after a spin early on. Given the number of other teams that were having problems, including some that were even battling for the lead, I think that was a good, solid effort for him. I also think back to the battle he had with Racist Sorelli, where it was either at Kansas or at Michigan, where it seemed like they had a good show there, and that was good to see. Also, like seeing again, discussing Timmy Hill's sweep of the entire weekend and running the 5 races. It was good to see him run against his brother in the Truck Series. I believe he's done it in the Xfinity Series before. I think it was at Phoenix. I know that they were helping each other a couple times before when Carl still had the Dodges he was running. But on the Truck Series side, good to see them run up against each other. And even though Timmy rather, had a last place run in the Xfinity Series, it was good to be able to at least discuss that a little bit and feature things like that. So may not have been the best particular group of last place finishers, but I think that each of them had the opportunity to kind of discuss more positive angles of their careers, and I think hopefully that's something to be able to accomplish in some of these other articles where it's not just negative all the time. Even in the case of something like Rick Ware Racing, where you have this unfortunate day where they finished last in a Cup race in the Indy 500, but hey, they were both entered in it, and it's really speaks to the efforts that they've been able to take and what they've been working on to try to grow their organization. So hopefully better luck comes. It wasn't too long ago that a team like Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing would be taking their lumps, just doing the best they can, and now they're turning the corner on that. So we'll find out. Did they get the Indy 500 results up here? I don't see them yet. They still have, at least at the Racing Reference page, they don't seem to have them. It's interesting. Sometimes they wait a little extra there, but Old Takuma Sato definitely makes things interesting on that. So excellent. Well, let me get these right here. Checking out these other ones here. Clam, I thank you for the support there of the documentaries. I appreciate. Glad you enjoy those. We got more content coming on the way here. Let's see. Yes, Caleb, you bring up a good point about Dawson Cram. Very excited to see what he has planned. I think, again, back between Mike Mittler's team and what he's done again with Boyd Long, he's had some really impressive runs, and hopefully whoever some good runs again. And that's something that we're definitely looking ahead to as we're planning on covering Phoenix in November. Still working out some details on that, but if Dawson ends up being one of the stories from that one, that would be pretty exciting to follow at the same time. Let's see. Yeah, Vinnie Miller, rough deal with the 78 car. That was a very hard hit. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the brake issues that Tommy Joe Martins had in that car a couple years ago. Watkins Glen, he had a scary accident going into one of the kinks there and just totaled the car there with McLeod's team, and was certainly understandably not. That was kind of the way that all shook out there. But that's kind of how all that. We got the whole family here. Alrighty. Well, tell you what, let's jump into trivia here. We'll do a few questions here. And again, if you guys I have the camera off screen here so we can cover that. If you have any other questions, I see Caleb, your comment on Tommy Joe Martins maybe win Friday. Wouldn't that be something? He had not too bad of a run at Talladega. I know he rear-ended somebody during a pile up there on the front stretch, but it seemed like they were able to recover well enough from that to get some decent runs in. But we'll find out. Do we cover this in 31 minutes? Boy, I didn't count on buzzing through the action quite that quickly there. But I'll tell you what, it was definitely a blur, and hopefully we'll get to more action in Daytona next week and more to talk about that weekend as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Hopefully the stream hasn't conked out again here, but we'll bear with it as best as possible here. If you have any questions for anything, again, from the top 3 races this weekend, or from Indy, or from stuff on the channel here in general, I'll certainly kind of. You're on the buffer wheel again. That's not good. Okay. I see the numbers have jumped down here a little bit. This may not be a more permanent location here for future shows if we're going to have internet issues here, but we'll do as best as possible. We may make this a brief one here, and if we get cut off during the trivia segment, maybe we'll do a separate show for that along the way. But given what everything happened this weekend, we certainly want to cover this as best as possible. I hope it's not OBS, because I was messing with that last night, and it didn't seem to work very well. Okay, you're back. You had to restart YouTube itself. Oh dear. Okay, well, hopefully, again, I apologize if you guys are having troubles with that out there. Hopefully, it won't be too much of a problem on here, but we may make this one a bit of a shorter show here tonight and move on to this here. Okay. People in here. We'll go ahead and again, we haven't started the questions yet here. Go ahead and tell me which category you'd like me to do. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Those are our 6 categories here. Just doing this for fun here to kind of round everything out on what has been quite a busy weekend, to say the least, between Dover and Indianapolis. So again, the categories are NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. All right, I see 1 vote for drivers here so far. Let's see if the cat has any suggestions here in the meantime. He's indisposed at the moment. Alrighty. And just see 1 for drivers so far. Oh boy, I hope it's not on the loading wheel for everybody else. That wouldn't be a positive sign if that were the case. But we'll do the best we can here. Yeah, the answers probably won't be as wild this time. Let's do drivers. Okay, I see just the 1 vote here so far, but we'll go ahead and jump into that. Okay, and this will also be a good test to see what we have going on here. Okay, here we go. First question, what U.S. state does driver Phil Barkdahl call home? I think we've had this one before, but we'll go ahead and run this again for the group. What U.S. state does driver Phil Barkdahl call home? All righty. As we get more beverage from the Paul Menard chalice here. All righty. What U.S. state does driver Phil Barkdahl call home? All right. I'm not seeing this chat refreshing here, so that's not. Is that the full chat or is that the other one here? Make sure it's working okay here. Alberta. Yeah, probably not quite there. What U.S. state does driver Phil Barkdahl call home? All righty. Any other guesses on this? Goodness, I think it might just be you and me, Beast Metal here. That's okay. We'll go through this here as best we can. All right. The answer is indeed Arizona is the correct answer. Arizona. Phil Barkdahl. Not too many drivers from Arizona you talk about. I guess Alex Bowman's from Arizona, so you got that. But Arizona is indeed the correct answer on that one. Okay, next question. What driver tried to run full programs in both the Winston and Busch series in 1998? What driver tried to run full programs in both Winston Cup and the Busch series in 1998? That is our next question. What driver tried to run full programs in both Winston Cup and the Busch series in 1998? Okay, we got 1 guess for David Green. Any other guesses on that? You know, double headers between different series. You think of like Kevin Harvick in 2001 or things of that nature, or especially in the era before the NASCAR finally stepped in and scaled back on the so-called bushwhackers. This being a very different time where perhaps it was a bit less common, at least on running at full programs or trying to, in both Winston Cup and Busch series in 1998. Okay, we got, yeah, programs. I think tried to run full programs in both Winston Cup and Busch series in 1998. That is worded a little badly. I assume it meant programs being schedules, that the driver is attempting to run the full year. That's the way I read it. But you raise a good point there, Ultimate 23 Dragon. Maybe it means teams, like if it's drivers starting a team that's going to run both, that would certainly be a different list of drivers, I would assume. But I think it means the driver attempting to run it. So we'll see in the answer. That'll clarify that a little bit. I see Jeff Burton on here, David Green, Dale Sr. The answer is Robert Presley. Robert Presley. Now that's interesting because I guess Presley wouldn't have had his own Cup Series team. He was driving for Doug Bowell still in '98, if I remember correctly. So programs must have been the full season rather than the full effort of having teams that would run the full season. Interesting distinction there on that, but technicalities are always what make this thing particularly challenging. All right. Oh, I almost had me read the same question here. Yeah, I said Robert Presley. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that one either. That doesn't seem right somehow. But there we go. Let's do a palate cleanser on this one here. What was Alan Kulwicki's rookie NASCAR Winston Cup Series year? That is our next question. What was Alan Kulwicki's rookie NASCAR Winston Cup Series year? That is our next question. Yeah, it should have said schedule instead. Yeah, that was really badly. I wouldn't have written it that way. I would have just said schedule. I would have said attempted to run, or I would have said attempted to run all the Cup and Busch races that year. I think that would have been a lot clearer. Because then, yeah, if you're thinking about drivers as owners, then it messes that up. And yeah, but Robert Presley for some reason was the answer. Go figure. I don't think he did it that late in his career. Alrighty, so the answer on this one, what is Alan Kulwicki's rookie NASCAR Winston Cup Series year? We have guesses for 1986, and the answer is indeed, 1986. 1986, the correct answer. Alrighty, let's see here. Okay, oh, here we go. Here's a good road course question here after I guess a leftover one from the Daytona road course last week. How many of Dan Gurney's 16 NASCAR starts did he win? How many of Dan Gurney's 16 NASCAR starts did he win is our question. How many of Dan Gurney's 16 NASCAR starts did he win? That is our question for here. How many of Dan Gurney's NASCAR starts did he win? Alrighty. We have guesses for 6. We have guesses for 3. Any other guesses on that? I know he won his 3rd career start. See, there we go. Mike Joy statistics are always handy in that sense. But the answer is, you got the answer coming up here? The answer is 5. 5. Can you believe that? Yeah, right between you, between the Ultimate 23 and Beast of Metal there. So 5 is the correct answer. Of Dan Gurney's 16 starts, he actually won, which is very, very impressive. But he certainly had Riverside figured out, like a lot of these other USAC guys back in that time, and had a great performance out there and consistently was putting people in a race for 2nd place for a number of those years. So yeah, 5 is the correct answer. Alrighty. Okay. Yeah, nearly 33%. Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. I got to agree. All right, next question. Who drove the first of his 569 consecutive Winston Cup races at Riverside in 1979? Another road course question, basically. Who drove the first of his 569 consecutive Winston Cup races at Riverside in 1979? That is our next question. There we get these on here. So who drove the first of his 569 Winston Cup races at Riverside in 1979? Any guesses on that? Whoop, I hope I didn't stump the group, or hopefully we're not hit the refresh button on here. We'll do this here. Ricky Rudd, Terry Labonte, any other guesses on that? Who drove the first of his 569 consecutive Winston Cup races at Riverside in 1979? And the answer is Terry Labonte, Beast of Metal. You got it. Terry Labonte. It almost seemed like it would have been Dale Earnhardt right around the same time period, although he made starts before that. But Terry Labonte is indeed the correct answer on that one. We're going to wind this one down a little bit early. I know that David Land's got his live stream going, so I know there's a lot of people in that. And I think we're double and triple billed against several people here at the same time. But I appreciate all of you for hanging in there with me and with Trick here as well. We'll see if we have some more shows like that in the future. But we're certainly going to do one under the lights next week for Daytona and wrap up some action there. Maybe we'll do some more trivia questions along the way and we'll figure something out. But that'll be our aspect on that. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up with this last question here today. Oh, okay. I think this will be a good question. We might have had this one before, but this will be a good review here for those of you longtime viewers here on the stream. What was the first name of the Flock sister who drove a NASCAR Winston Cup? That is our last question for tonight. What was the first name of the Flock sister who drove a NASCAR Winston Cup? That is our question here. What was the name of the Flock sister? So we're looking for a first name who drove in NASCAR Winston Cup. Now, by saying Winston Cup, it makes it sound like it's a lot later in time. I'm sure we're talking about the distant past there, the Pathfinder era, the early era there, not so much 1972 to the present. So that might be more stumped. Yeah, I think we've definitely had this one before Ultimate 23, and I've already forgotten the answer too. It's not coming to mind because I always think about the Flock brothers, you don't really think about the Flock sister. But I guess this maybe will make it more memorable for all of us here. We'll find out. What was the first name of the Flock sister who drove a NASCAR Winston Cup? Sean Monahan, I'm not sure if it's that piece of metal. We'll find out. But we'll see here. What was the first name of the Flock sister who drove a NASCAR Winston Cup? Alrighty. And we're going to get the answer here. And the answer, the final one for tonight is, whoop, the light didn't show that very well. Whoop, can we get that a little better? Ethel. Ethel is the correct answer. Ethel Flock. That was not going to be my first guess on that. It seemed like it would have been something else. Maybe going for something more obscure. Ethel. 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 So there we go. So almost, yeah. It almost seemed like it would, Frank, you always have it there too. It almost seems like it would be like the kind of like fuel or something, but no, Ethel with Ethel. So we're gonna call it a shorter show tonight. I think what was strange about this in particular, it's not so much the change of location and all that stuff. It just occurred to me, I think, in talking about these Dover races, just how open and shut they are. And hopefully when NASCAR restructures their schedule next year, we're going to find out a way to maybe that'll get like consolidated down a little bit, something closer to what we have for the Pocono weekends. I really thought I was going to have a lot more to say about these, but boy, that sure kind of came and went there. And maybe I'm missing a lot of details from that or not. I'm sure something's going to occur to me after the fact. I thought they were decent last place battles, but unfortunately in each case, they were wrapped up in very early in the race. Even Norm Bennings was the first 50 laps or so. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then the Indy 500 just being unusual with no fans there and having basically, a two-car battle. Seemed like it was going to be Rossi was going to be the one that was going to put the spurs to Dixon, and that ended up being Sato at the end there. Not to say it was a bad race, certainly the best race of the weekend. But yeah, that was certainly the challenge. Hopefully next week for Daytona, we're going to have quite a lot more to say, even with just, 2 races or 3 races next week. I guess they're going to have Gateway for the Truck Series. I'm trying to think if maybe we're going to do either the show after the after the Cup race on Saturday or the Truck race on Sunday. It's up in the air. Maybe we'll split it up somehow. If the Cup race is particularly exceptional, we'll probably end up doing the show on Saturday night. But we'll play it by ear. Definitely let me know whatever works best for you guys, and we'll work around that for sure. I'm certainly open to do this whenever it's most convenient. So let's see. Oh, it was spelled like that, was it? Okay, maybe this thing was misspelling it correctly. I mean, it's possible this thing spelled it incorrectly. So yeah, if you got it, if you got the right reference here, that would be certainly something to check out there. So again, thank you so much for checking out the yeah, there you go. Just like I like that. Just like the correct type of alcohol and hand sanitizers. There you go. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I know the show is a little bit more shoot from the hip here tonight, but I wanted to make sure I got it in before it was too late for everybody out there. And I hope you enjoyed the action this weekend. And again, congratulations to the race winners. Unfortunate deals for last place finishers. The articles on both the Cup Series and Xfinity Sunday races will be up later tonight. The articles on the other 3 previous races on Saturday and Friday are already on the website at lastcar.info. Again, the Patreon is patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock. The Twitter is @LastCarOnBrock. So again, stay tuned for more updates on that. We're looking ahead to Daytona, the cutoff weekend for the Cup Series, and we're going to start talking about the Last Card Championships, and who's going to be taking home one of those certificates in November when we get to Phoenix. So stay tuned for that. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stories coming up here, and I hope you stick with me here as we navigate the rest of that. So from Trick and myself, have a safe night, everyone, and we will see you next week.